So today I am going to discuss with you very important identity that is known as Jacobi identity, and I will try to prove the Jacobi identity with respect to the Poisson bracket. So we are having three dynamical variables. X, Y and Z. Now X, Y, Z, its Poisson bracket and whole Poisson bracket plus Y, Z, X, Poisson bracket and its Poisson bracket, and then Z, X and Y, its Poisson bracket, whole Poisson bracket. This must be equal to 0. So this is known as Jacobi identity. And for the sake of simplicity, sometimes this can be written like this: X, Y, Z plus Y, Z, X plus Z, X and Y. And sometimes Poisson bracket is written in curly brackets. So in most of the text you can see that Poisson bracket can be written like this. Either this is written in this way or this way. So here it is Y, Z, X plus Z, X and Y, it is equal to 0. So either it is written either this way or this way in most of the textbooks. So but as I am using this notation here, so I will simply write down it in this way just for the sake of simplicity, right? So for the proof of this, first of all I will consider this term and expand it, and after expanding I will see that what will happen, and then generalize it to rest of the terms. So now consider this first term. This is X, Y, Z, right? So it can be written as curly X over curly QI and curly over curly PI X, sorry, not X, Y, what Y, Z, its Poisson bracket minus curly X over curly PI and curly QI over Y, Z, its Poisson bracket, right? That's what we have to keep in mind. So now let me simplify this term. So it is equal to curly X over curly QI, curly over curly PI, and then curly, I am ignoring here summation, so it is curly Y over curly QJ, curly Z over curly PJ minus curly Y over curly PJ and curly Z over curly QJ. This is the expansion of this part which I have written here, and then minus curly X over curly PI and curly over curly QI, and then expanding this, it is curly over curly QJ and curly Z over curly PJ minus curly Y over curly PJ and curly Z over curly QJ. That's what we have to keep in mind. It's a very important step. And let me expand this now. So curly X over curly QI and curly over curly pi, right, then curly y over curly qj and curly z over curly pj, right? Its derivative minus curly x over its product with it, curly x over curly qi, right? Then curly over curly pi, and then this part curly y over curly pj, curly z over curly qj, right? I have just expanded this, and then minus curly x over curly pi, curly over curly qi, and then it is curly over curly qj, curly z over, sorry, it is y, yeah, so it is y, curly z over curly pj, right? Then this minus minus will become plus, so it is plus, it is curly x over curly pi, curly over curly qi, curly y over curly pj, and curly z over curly qj, right? So now it is basically the product of two functions, product of two functions, product of two functions, product of two. So I will apply here the product rule. So if I apply product rule here, then I can write down that x, this x y z, this whole Poisson bracket, it must be equal to, yeah, so it is curly x over curly qi, this part, and then applied product rule here, so it is curly square y over curly square y over curly pi, curly pi, curly qj, and then curly z over curly pj, right? This is the one term. Then plus curly y over curly qj, curly square z over curly pi, curly pj, right? So this is what we have simplified this term. Now let me go to the second term, minus curly x over curly qi, then curly square y over curly pi, curly pj, and curly z over curly qj, plus curly y over curly pj, then plus, into curly square z over curly pi, curly qj. That's what we have to keep in mind, right? So I have expanded this. Now I will expand this term, and after that I will expand this. So it is equal to, this is with the negative sign, so minus curly x over curly pi, and here curly square y over curly qi and curly qj into curly z over curly pj, plus curly y over curly qj and curly square z over curly qi, curly pj, plus curly x over curly pi, and it is curly square y over curly qi, curly pj, curly z over curly qj, plus curly y over curly pj. Now it is curly square z upon curly qi curly qj. That's what I am getting. Now let me simplify this. So if I simplify this, then it can be written as, it is curly x over curly qi curly square y over curly pi curly qj curly z over curly pj plus curly x over curly qi curly y over curly qj and curly square z over curly pi curly pj, then minus, it is curly x over curly qi curly square y over curly pi curly pj curly z over curly qj minus curly y over curly pj, sorry, curly x over curly x over curly qi and curly y over curly pj and curly square z over curly pi curly qj. Then negative sign will be there, this minus, I will open it up. So now it is curly x over curly pi curly square y over curly qi curly qj and curly z over curly pj, and with negative sign, minus, yeah, it is negative. So it's again curly x over curly pi curly y over curly qj curly square z over curly qi curly pj, then plus curly x over curly pi curly square y over curly qi curly pj curly z over curly qi plus curly x over curly pi curly y over curly pj curly square z upon curly qi curly qj. So that's what I got it here. Similarly, I can generalize this for y, z, x by replacing here this x with y, y with z and z with x. Similarly, for what we call zxy, I will replace this x with z, then y with x and z with y, right, zxy. So I will use this pattern for this, and then rest of the I and j will remain as it is. So if I do this little algebra, then I can write an expression for this as, so that means this let me go back and yeah, and so if I do this little things here, let me copy this, yeah. So if I copy this, so that means this x, y, z is equal to, sorry, plus y zx plus zxy, it can be written this way, and this is equal to this. This is the expansion of this term, and now I will expand this term and this term in the similar fashion. So if I do this, then I can write down similarly. I can write down for this, and that it is equal to, this is for this. Now I will take care this term. So for this, let me do plus curly y over curly qi, curly y over curly qi, curly square z over curly pi, and curly qj, and curly x over curly pj, plus curly y over curly qi, curly z over curly qj, and curly square x over curly pi and curly pj, minus curly y upon curly qi, and curly square z over curly pi, curly pj, and curly x over curly qj, minus curly y over curly qi, and curly z over curly pj, and curly square x over curly pi, curly qj, then minus curly y upon curly pi, curly square z over curly qi, curly qj, curly x over curly pj, minus curly y upon curly pi, curly z over curly qj, curly square x over curly qi, curly pj, plus curly y over curly pi, curly square y upon curly qi, curly pj, curly x over curly qj, plus curly y over curly pi, curly z over curly pj, and curly square x over curly qi, curly qj. This is I have expanded. Now let me expand this also similar manner. So I am getting plus curly z over curly qi, curly square x over curly pi, curly qj, curly y over curly pj, plus curly z over curly qi, and curly x over curly qj, and curly square y upon curly pi and curly pj, minus curly z upon curly qi, curly square x over curly pi, curly pj, and curly y upon curly qj, minus curly z upon curly qi, curly x over curly pj, then curly square y upon curly pi, curly qj. Then the last, it's minus, it is curly z over curly pi, curly square x over curly qi, curly qj, curly y over curly pj, minus curly z over curly pi, curly x over curly qj, curly square y over curly qi, curly pj, curly pj plus curly z upon curly pi curly square x over curly qi and curly pj and curly y over curly qj, then plus curly z over curly pi curly x over curly pj and curly square y over curly qi curly qj, right? That's what we have to keep in mind. Now I will apply here a little trick, that the trick which I am using is like this. Say the trick which I will use, since if I recall that curly x over curly qi, curly y over curly qj, it can be written as curly x over curly qj and curly y over curly qi. So they are equal and symmetrical. So keeping this in mind, I will do little trick here in all the terms. So first of all, let me talk about this first term. This is the first term. This is the first term, and this first term is basically, this is equivalent to this term. If I use this in mind, then they look similar, so they will cancel out. So they will cancel out. So that means this term will cancel out with it. Now this is the second term which I am considering now. This is the second term. So if I consider this term, then this term is equivalent to this is equivalent to this one, right? So these will also cancel out. They will also cancel out, right? So this second will cancel out with it, right? Then similarly, let me talk about the third term. This is the third term, and third is similar to this term. Both are equal and opposite, so they will cancel out, right? So they will cancel out. So they will also cancel out. They will also cancel out, right? Then let me talk about the fourth term, and this is the fourth. The fourth is the fourth one is this one. Sorry, I have mistaken here. It is the second term, right? It is second term. So it will cancel out with the second term, and this is the fourth one. So this is the fourth one which we have to keep in mind, right? So this fourth will cancel out with the fourth term, means they will cancel out. Then let me talk about this fifth term. This fifth term is equivalent to another term which is here, right? They both looks identical. This is x, this is z, and here it is xz, and we can exchange this pi and p, this pi and pj. It is pi and pj, and so that means this fifth will cancel out with it, and this is the sixth term. If I consider the sixth term, then it is equivalent to another sixth term, that is somewhere here. It is sixth term, right? So it is the sixth term, so they will cancel out again, right? Then seventh term. The seventh term is equivalent to one more term. Let me, yeah, it is this one. Both are equal and opposite, so they will cancel out. Then let me talk about the eighth term. This eighth term is equivalent to this eighth term, so they will cancel out. Then this is ninth term, which I am getting, right? This is the ninth term, so this ninth term is equivalent to this term, right? So they will cancel out. Then this is the ninth term, so they will cancel out. Let me compare. This is qi, this is qi, so they can be exchanged using this formula, so they are identical. Similarly, and this is the 10th term about which I am talking here. So this 10th will cancel out. Let me, yeah. So this is the 10th term. So both will also cancel out, right? Because equal and opposite. Then this is 11th term, right? And this is 11th term is equivalent to this one. Both are equal and opposite, right? So they will cancel out. And this is the 12th term, and this is equivalent to this term. So all will cancel out, and overall result comes out to be equal to 0. So thus I can say that this x, y, z is equal to, sorry, plus z x y, y z x plus y z x is equal to y and z x and y, right? So sorry, their sum, and overall it will be equal to 0. Hence Jacobi identity will be proved. So that's all for this lecture.